All right, so this is your bleeder bolt right here. It's got a little cap here on the nipple. All right, and there is the exposed bleeder nipple. I'm going to go ahead and attach a wrench and a hose and catch all of the old fluid in this old organic strawberry lemonade bottle here. So I'm going to go ahead and flush all of the lines on this Honda Pilot. With this model, you want to start with the driver front, passenger rear, and then driver rear. So essentially going clockwise, starting from the driver front here. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so these bleeder screws are a 10 millimeter. Go ahead and put a box wrench right over that bleeder screw right there. Go ahead and attach a hose. Now I have this fancy little adapter here, but essentially you could just go hose straight onto there just like that. This one just provides a little bit of a tighter grip onto that bolt. And of course you want to go in an upward direction so that airflow goes upward, fluid goes down. The whole point of this is to get all of that fluid out of there, but also get all of that air out of there as well. That's most important. So as you can see here, really tight hold on that bleeder nipple. And I'm just going to route this straight down into my fill bucket here. Nice and easy. All right. So essentially here, all I need to do is crack open this bolt once I get everything situated on the top master cylinder. Let's go and check that out right now. All right, and here is my customized Motive power bleeder. So it's a pressurized system. You essentially fill this with brake fluid. It pressurizes the system and sends fluid directly into the master cylinder. Now what makes this custom here is all of the tubing that I added. So I took off all of this stock tubing and I added my own vinyl hoses here. So I've got everything connected. I've got a 3/8 to 5/16 adapter, as you can see there. And I needed that because of this custom master reservoir cap here, where it needed this 5/16 hose to go directly on that. And as you can see there, it has dual O-rings to seal off the system on the inner chamber. And this will bolt on directly onto the Honda master cylinder. Pretty cool stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and remove this cap here. You do have a little bit of filter. You want to take that out. So I've just got here my little vacuum tool. I'm just going to go ahead and vacuum out this old fluid as much as I can get out. All right, so now I'm going to take my new reservoir cap here, line up the two tabs front and back. It's going to be a lot tighter because of those dual O-rings. Go around the other side of the car here. I'll push down and twist. And there you go, nice and sealed off. All right, so go ahead and take your fresh .3 fluid. You can also use a .3, .4 mixture. I definitely use synthetic. I typically use Valvoline, but they had Freestone Max here at the AutoZone locally, so that's what I picked up. But I'm pretty sure all these are going to be pretty similar in functionality. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and dump the entire bottle in here. Definitely take care to not spill anything here, as this is corrosive. All right, I just ran some fluid up into the lines here. Has an opening. Now I can just make sure that this fluid is going downward into the system. I'm going to go and pump this up to 10 psi. I'm just using a light here just to make sure that the master cylinder definitely does have fluid, which it does, so I am good to go. So now I can just crack open each bleeder bolt and start bleeding away. Always going to make sure to keep an eye on the PSI gauge down here. All right, so I've got pressure in my system, ready to go ahead and crack this open. I'm just going to go ahead and monitor the amount of air bubbles and just wait till this fluid turns clean in this clear line here. Starting to see the flow of fluid there. No air bubbles, which is a good thing, but I can definitely see how dirty the fluid is. And a couple air bubbles, not too much though, not too bad. I'm just gonna go ahead and let this do its thing for a little bit. Taking a look down here at my bucket here. You can see just how dirty this fluid is coming out. Again, you want that upward arc just to make sure that any air bubbles go up, fluid goes down in the event of a loss in pressure. All right, and as you can see in this line, it's actually coming out quite a bit clearer. So this is actually looking pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and close this off and move on to the front passenger wheel. I like to keep a towel with me just when I remove all this stuff, keep everything clean. And I can see that last bit of fluid coming out of there is actually clear. So I know that these lines in the front are nice and clean, fresh fluid. And I'm going to go ahead and reinsert my nipple cover here. And we're looking all good. This one is good to go. I'm just going to go ahead and put the front wheel back on and move on to the next wheel. All right, so it's now time to work on the passenger front here. Now's also a good time to eyeball your brake pads. Make sure you got some life left. If they're low, time to replace the brake pads and either replace the rotors or resurface them. Mine, I have just about 4 to 5 millimeters left, so it's going to be time to replace this whole set pretty soon. But for the meantime, I am just brake bleeding. I do need to replace the rear pads though, but that's another video. All right, so let's go ahead and insert our box wrench. Get our adapter here with an upward bend. Put that right over the nipple, upward angle just like that. So let's go ahead and crack this open. I did verify that I am at 12 PSI up on the Motiv bleeder. So let's go ahead and crack this open, see what we're dealing with. All right, once again, we're looking pretty good as far as air bubbles go. You can hear that fluid trickling out of there. Now I could possibly loosen the screw even more, but it's best not to rush this type of process. Take your time. I'm just watching the color of this fluid here on this hose just until it lines up to just about clear. Can't stress that enough, but just make sure you have an upward bend on this hose here. Just in case there is any air bubbles, they'll go right up the hose rather than back into your brakes. Now, something that would make this a little bit easier is if you use different color fluid each time. So say you swap from a standard clear fluid like this to say maybe a blue or purple fluid, and you'll be able to know exactly when that fresh fluid comes in. So this, I'm just basically eyeballing it just to see when it lines up a little bit more. And because these hoses are so close to the master cylinder, it doesn't really take much fluid through these lines here to fully flush them out. It's the rear fluid that's going to take a little bit longer because you have a lot more hose going from front to the back of the car. And I'm just basically going to stop there. I think I've got all of it out. And I'm seeing 0 air bubbles coming out of this system here. So I'm going to close this off. Now this is also possible to do with the wheels on, but I prefer not to contaminate my wheels with brake fluid, especially if you have like painted or powder coated rims. Definitely do not want to get brake fluid on those. All right, I've got 10 PSI up at the Motiv. Let's go ahead and crack this open. But essentially, I'm just getting rid of all of the old fluid in the lines down here at the passenger rear side. And then I'm going to go over to the driver's rear. And you can see my catch bottle, just how dirty that fluid is. Just about black down there at the bottom. And while I'm back here, I'm also going to inspect all my hoses, make sure there's no cracks, no bleeding fluid coming out of these connections here. Everything is good to go and straight. All right, I'm going to call it good right there. I'm going to close this off now. All right, got 10 PSI up at the pressure bleeder. I'm going to crack this open, let it bleed out. And there goes the fluid. So just pay attention to the quality of this fluid here, color, and I'll check back with you in a second. All right, so I can tell that the fluid is coming out clear out of this hose. So I'm going to close this off, and essentially this bleed is done. Reinsert my nipple cover here, and we're all good. All right, and with this driver's side rear, the brake bleed is fully done. Now I'm just going to make sure to pump my brakes, which I've already done. I'm going to go and start the car, pump the brake, make sure I actually have a brake pedal before driving, and just rip it around town, rip it around the block, and just make sure I have brakes. I'm going to go ahead and do maybe about 5 to 10 really hard stops just to fully seat these pads onto this rotor. Other than that, that is the process, you guys. If you're not already, consider hitting that subscribe button, like and comment with your feedback, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.